turned my wedding into a white spectacle, so I turned her into a black nightmare. My mother was the type of person who would sabotage her own kid's birthday if it meant gaining another point on her popularity index. The warning signs were everywhere. We just called them mom being mom. At my sweet 16, she emerged from the bathroom in a silver cocktail dress that made my pink party dress look like pajamas. She'd hired her own photographer who followed her around while my friends watched confused, turning my birthday into her personal photo shoot. She even gave a 20-minute speech about raising such a beautiful daughter, and when it came time to cut the cake, she guided my hand on the knife, pressing so close that my face was barely even visible in the pictures. That was just the start. When I graduated from college, she arrived 2 hours late in a white sequined gown that caught every camera flash. She stood up during my valedictorian speech and walked across the front row to get a better angle. When the dean handed me my diploma, she rushed on stage claiming she needed to share this motherhood milestone, physically pushing between us for the photo. When I told her to stop, she just smiled and repeated what she always said. You don't want your mother to be happy? You should be ashamed of yourself. From then on, we learned to manage her like a natural disaster. My sister eloped in secret. My brother banned her from his art shows, and I just stopped telling her things. We thought we had her contained until my wedding day arrived. I begged her to just wear the burgundy dress we'd picked together, and she agreed, which gave me a huge sigh of relief. But I should have known something was wrong when she insisted on getting ready separately for a surprise. I was doing final touch-ups when I heard my sister beside me gasp like she'd just seen a ghost. Oh my god, you need to see this. I rushed to the door and saw my mother posing for guests in the main hallway, wearing a white beaded wedding gown with a cathedral train and a tiara. Her dress had even more crystals than mine. My stomach dropped and I felt like throwing up. This was my wedding day. 4 years of planning, $30,000 worth of decorations, and my mother still sabotaged it without a sliver of regret. The wedding planner intercepted me before I could confront her, whispering about keeping up appearances. My hands shook as I gestured for everyone to stall the ceremony. My bridesmaids surrounded me, frantically fanning my face and trying to salvage my melting makeup while I processed the betrayal. Through the cracked door, we could hear my mother's voice carrying down the hallway. Oh, this old thing? White is just so slimming, and you know how photographs are forever. The rage built inside me with each entitled word, mixing with the humiliation of knowing everyone was seeing this, whispering about it, probably pitying me. I pressed my palms together trying to breathe, and that's when I saw it. The antique fountain pen that was on the table in front of me. It was filled with permanent India ink that would supposedly turn into a disaster every time it spilled. The idea practically formed itself. I tested the pen on a tissue, watching the ink bloom black and irreversible, then loosened the cartridge just enough to make it unstable. Then I tucked the pen carefully into my bouquet and stood up with sudden brightness, as if nothing was wrong. In the hallway, my mother was still preening for our horrified relatives, adjusting her veil like a real bride. I rushed toward her with exaggerated joy, clutching my bouquet with a hidden pen. Oh my god, Mom, you look amazing! I gushed, throwing my arms around her in what looked like an emotional embrace. This dress is absolutely stunning on you. As I squeezed her tight, my fingers found the pen and pressed hard. The loosened cartridge burst, sending India ink flooding across her dress in a spreading black stain. The ink poured through her beading like oil through lace, transforming the white gown into a complete disaster. I pulled back in perfect horror, dropping the pen as if I'd just noticed it. Oh no, I didn't know I was still holding my pen. Mom, I'm so sorry. My mom looked down at the spreading stain, then back at me, then back at the stain, and her face morphed into fury. My dress! What did you do? She grabbed at the fabric, trying to stop the ink's advance, but that only spread it further. This cost me $9,000. She actually tried to lunge at my face, but her gown tangled around her legs and she tripped, landing not far away from my feet. She looked up at me with eyes red and streaming with tears. You did this on purpose. I knew you've always been jealous. I apologized, said it was an accident, and offered to let her borrow a backup dress for one of the bridesmaids. By this point, other guests had joined in, and they too tried to convince her that this was just an accident. She grew even angrier at that and left to change clothes after yelling that she was going to sue me, her own daughter, for assault. Sure, Mom, I'll see you in court. That never happened, by the way. Instead, the ceremony went smoothly, and my mother only returned during the reception, where the only remaining seat was next to the loudest speaker, and that was the last day I ever saw her.